We know today that childhood obesity is on the rise in India, and there are a variety of reasons why today more and more young children are becoming obese. It is very commonly known that the reasons for this are, of course, sedentary lifestyle, improper eating habits, and lack of physical activity. Today, families are spending more and more time on the phone, on the TV versus doing physical activity, and more families are choosing to eat out. So junk food, high calorie food, sugary foods, as well as sedentary lifestyle and no physical activity are the biggest contributors to obesity. But me being a mental health practitioner and having done a lot of research in this area, I would also like to point out 3 other causes of obesity which are not so commonly known, but they are big contributors. And one of them is, of course, lack of sleep. Sleep has a direct connection with hormonal imbalance and obesity. So today more and more youngsters are actually compromising on their sleep. They are sitting up all night or till late nights watching OTT content, being on social media, or even studying, and thereby they are sleep deprived. And sleep imbalance or sleep compromise leads to weight gain and obesity as young people and as adults. This is based on research. Another very important factor which also causes obesity is childhood trauma and family environment, which again very few people acknowledge, but there is lots of research out there which shows there is a direct connection between increase in the childhood trauma areas with increase in the risk for obesity. So when children go through a lot of physical abuse, emotional abuse, or sexual abuse in childhood, their risk of becoming obese as teenagers or young adult multiplies with every increase in the childhood trauma element. Also family environment. So if the family is toxic, if the parents are constantly fighting, there is domestic violence, or if the parents are depressed or have mental health issues, this is also linked to childhood trauma, which in turn again leads to obesity amongst young people. Family has to change, family dynamics has to change, and we also have to focus on the mental health of the children if we want to work on obesity. So as parents and as a society, what do we do to prevent obesity? Of course, the clear answer is to reduce the screen time, to develop healthy eating habits as a family, and not just for that child who is obese, and incorporate physical activity as a lifestyle, not as a one-off activity for the purpose of losing weight where you do swimming once a week or you go gymming once or twice a week. It has to be a part of lifestyle. So physical activities like swimming, playing sports, games, badminton, gardening, hiking, jogging, running, going for long walks, cycling, or even house cleaning regularly as a family can be done in order to incorporate healthy physical activities and movement in order to prevent obesity. Another thing I would also like to tell parents is that do not force feed your children when they are young. Today parents are working and they put the child in front of the TV or a phone in order to make the child eat. Now this may seem easy in the beginning, but as this child grows up to be an adult, there is a high likelihood of developing unhealthy relationship with food. So we have seen that children who have been force fed or who have been fed in front of TV sets and phones also tend to develop overweight or obesity kind of problems as adults. Another thing is, of course, do not shame the child, work on the child's emotions and work on the psychological well-being of the child, because we know that childhood trauma and emotions like depression, stress and anxiety can lead to obesity, binge eating and stress eating. So normalize conversations around mental health as a family, talk about emotions, teach your children healthy ways to cope up with difficult emotions so that they do not indulge in eating or do not use food as a way to manage their emotions or as a coping structure. So these are the different ways where as a society and as a family we can prevent our children from becoming obese. Also at home, manage the portion size, be mindful about what kind of food is being brought inside the house, what kind of snacks are being brought, and also have focus on healthy body versus just focusing on losing weight. So focus on your child becoming healthy, becoming more energetic, developing stamina, versus just being stressed about the weight gain. So these are the different ways where we can prevent obesity amongst young children as parents. If you are a parent of a child who is already obese, then here are a few things that you can do to help your child overcome this. One is, of course, do not body shame the child, do not blame the child, do not shame the child, do not let the child feel humiliated, do not make the child's obesity as a topic of conversation in every family gathering or even within your family. So do not make your child feel that there is something fundamentally wrong with him or her. Encourage the child to work on more physical activity, incorporate physical activity that you can do with your children. So it doesn't have to be something that the child has to do because he is obese. It has to be something that the family does on a daily basis to stay healthy. So keep that attitude in mind, incorporate more and more physical activity so your child can join you in that activity and lose weight. Remember, do not always focus on losing weight. Focus on the child becoming healthy, becoming strong, developing good stamina. Also encourage your child to focus on emotional management and emotional regulation. If you need, take help from mental health practitioners, dietitians, nutritionists, but at the same time focus on healthy coping structures that your child can develop so he or she doesn't have to resort to food as a coping structure. So talk about emotions, have open, honest conversations around emotions and emotional health with your child. Teach them emotional self-regulation techniques. Do it yourself because children are always looking at the parents and learning. What you want to teach them always is very effective if you do it yourself. So as a family, change your eating habits. Limit your screen time as a family, incorporate more and more physical activity. Also have realistic goals for your child. Do not have unreasonable expectations for your child to lose weight, because again, if you pressurize your child more and stress more, stress is going to only cause more obesity and more weight gain versus losing it. So work with your child on that. Have reasonable goals, and at the same time as a family work together. It should not be the child's problem, but it is something that the family has to work together, and be mindful about your eating habits, about portion sizes, about physical activity, reducing screen time and working together to tackle obesity. Build your child's confidence, because most of the times obese children have a very low self-worth, and there is a high likelihood that they might be fat shamed, body shamed or bullied in school or college. So talk about it. If bullying is an issue, then please work with your child on that. It is very common for parents to blame each other for the child's health condition. A lot of times parents fight and blame each other for the child's obesity. Avoid blaming and shaming each other, because that is not going to help your child come out of it. It is just going to traumatize your child further. Also, as a family, try to avoid too much of trauma or abuse to your child. If you have abusive behaviors or if your spouse has abusive behaviors, then take help, because childhood trauma and abuse, domestic violence, bullying, all of this has a direct connection to obesity. So if those are the reasons, then please take help and prevent that from happening. Educate your child about obesity and the consequences, and work with your child as a team. Build trust and connection. Do not isolate the child because he or she is obese. Do not make the child feel that he or she is a problem because of obesity. Work on the child's confidence, body image and self-worth, and take professional help if needed.